Welcome back to Kin in Line. I think this is part 69, but could be mistaken. I just thought I'd start with a painting I did in the late 70s. I think I was still at art school. It's one of the few I managed to keep through all the years of upheavals and stuff. Anyway, I think this basically captures my life as a person who spent so much time in the sun on the beach, having fun, avoiding the army, and in soaking up the world of art. But let's move back to the drawings. So this was Anne, who was my first sort of serious relationship and to whom I was married for 3 years from 83. Though we went out for a year or two before that, I suppose. So I think this is quite a nice drawing. Those eyes look pretty good, sort of distant from. It's quite a big drawing. And then I did this one with watercolors, not as successful. And then, as I said, her parents lived in Graaff-Reinet, and this is another view of Spandau Kop from the town. I think Graaff-Reinet was founded in the late 18th century. And the Valley of Desolation. This is viewed from the toposcope, so looking up, you're about halfway up, you sort of access the viewing spots on the right there. There's a parking area about half a kilometre to the right. Then you do a bit of a hike across the top there, and then you look down into this valley, and I don't suppose many people actually approach it from the left, which would be quite interesting, but the official viewing spot is from the right. And these columns, dolerite I think it is, pretty impressive. Here we are again, Spandau Kop, viewed from the toposcope, I would say, with Tankisberg behind. And Graaff-Reinet is literally just below there somewhere. Then I went in Graaff-Reinet. I must have sketched this woman sort of seated outside somewhere. I forget the name of this. This is behind the Drosti, which was the old magistrate's court, I think, where the magistrate lived. This, I think, was the slave quarters. It's quite a nice drawing, actually, with a cyclist, a person pushing a bike. And I should have done a bit of reading before I did this, but so this is one of the many historic buildings in Graaff-Reinet. Can't remember its name. No, something house. Anyway, Cape Dutch architecture, obviously, prominent in that area. And now we're back to our parakeet. Quite a comprehensive drawing. I found it a bit of a torment, frankly, living with this thing, because it never stopped squawking. think this could have been Catberg. I know on one occasion we might have gone up there. Don't think it's the Hogsback, but I could be wrong. This is back in Graaff-Reinet at Anne's folks' house, and that's her lying on the grass with a flower bed in here in the foreground, and quite a nice Van Gogh-like tree, and a big sun hat. Doing what she often did was read. The flowers grow with great profusion if you water them, in the Karoo. And so this was their house. That's the gate, the main gate into the yard. Big flower bed full of heaven knows what types of flowers. There were little canals which brought water down from the dam, and every house property got a chance to tap into this water, sort of once a week. So I think I mentioned earlier that her brother had an aviary, and this was another of the birds he kept. Got some more here. And another. And can't escape this fella. I think I might have shown this sort previously. Anyway, old lady, my age, walking along probably Bonza Bay Beach with her stick. Yeah, this is Bonza Bay, so here's a chap pumping prawns, sand prawns. My brother Don and his then girlfriend Gillian, and he seems to be gesturing to me in a rather naughty way that I should take my pen and bugger off. Excuse me. I think this was done at Dave's Kitchen in the Vincent Park Centre. Looks like a granddad with his daughter sitting at a table dining. Dave's Kitchen used to serve the most magnificent pizzas, these fungi, just plain mushroom and cheese. And this is living with a woman, high-heeled shoes. It's a learning curve for a guy to have to adapt to all these things. Yeah, anyway. And I think this might be Anne again on the phone. Very quick sketch. Yeah, it's funny today you can't even talk about being on the phone. you're anywhere now and you can be on a phone. This I remember as being in the Hogsback, a little house, thatched roofed house that I painted. And just finally, this was shortly before, in fact, it was this weekend that I went with a colleague of mine, and Anne decided she didn't want to go with us, so I went to the Bathurst show. We stayed in Port Alfred, and Anne was already with someone else, as it were. So I can't remember. I must have done these sketches at the Bathurst show. This one has a kind of a nautical theme. Even though it probably wasn't anything to do with ships. Now this is quite a piece of nostalgia for me, because this guy who you can see there, I'm trying to just prise him off. This was Cliff Foster, who was my news editor on the Evening Post from about 85 or so. And it was the height of the anti-apartheid struggle. And he was a British expat, so a good man to work with. And it was with him and his wife that I went to Port Alfred that weekend, fateful weekend when that marriage finally ended. But yeah, got me some nice sketches. I mean, this to me is great. It's just no wasted lines, characters there. Likewise, this one. And then I remember these two as being classic. You know, the Albany district where Bathurst is where the British settlers from 1820 first settled, in and around Bathurst and Grahamstown. And there's still families there from descendants of those British settlers. I like to think that these couple that I'm showing here, that guy and this guy, are maybe descendants. Like I am a direct descendant of several 1820 settlers. So might this guy be. With that nose. One of my better drawings. Anyway, I think I must leave it for now. Cheers.